Hello there, welcome back to the show. Today I'll be talking about the Orson Welles film, his final film, Other Side of the Wind. Now this film was lost for years. There's a lot of legal issues involved with it. I don't think it was fully finished either by Welles. It started in like 1970 and even by the time he died in 85 it still wasn't finished or released, so it was one of those mystery things. As with Welles, there's lots of mysteries with Welles. He's always this mysterious figure with these projects, a lot of them unfinished, a lot of them like, you know, finished but very eccentric, and there's various versions of most of his films have stories around them. Some of them have different versions, like Macbeth has like the American version with plain dialogue, and the international version has the Scottish dialogue and it's longer. There's Othello took forever, Chains of Midnight took years to find. There's a version of Don Quixote which was never finished, but some director made a version of it with some of the footage, which was a very weird version but very interesting, even though you know it wasn't what Welles would have done himself. So Welles was one of those directors. He self-financed a lot of films. He went and did acting gigs to get money to keep the films going. So I think Othello, basically there was a time where the actors were waiting on the set and Welles would go and do an acting job, but would pay for them to shoot more of the film. You know, things like that happen with Welles a lot. And despite the chaos, he made like astonishing films. I mean, his Macbeth's brilliant, Othello's really interesting, Chains of Midnight is wonderful. There's lots of stuff. I mean, there are bad films though in there. I mean, Welles is one of my favourite directors, but he did do Mr. Arakin, or it's called Confidential Report. It's pretty slow. He also had The Stranger, which was a studio film, which is also pretty ropey. I mean, even though he's a genius, he did do one or two films that weren't great, but there's lots of great stuff in there. I mean, he really delivered. I mean, my favourite Welles film is still Magnificent Ambersons, which is a famously unfinished film because the studio recut it. But even what's there is so beautiful. And even though the ending's compromised, it's still such a beautiful film. It's still my favourite film of his, despite its compromises. So obviously, I'm not trying to explain this so much, but Welles left a trail of disasters behind him. That was part of his personality. He was just this person who everything was chaotic around him. He was, I think there's lots of ways he kind of engineered a lot of chaos to find interesting things. He more or less said he liked happy accidents and sets. He liked accidents to happen, things he hadn't thought of. And it's something you think he must have been engineering some of this stuff, because the films are so chaotic. So that's final film, Other Side of the Wind, starring John Huston as this director who's past his prime. He's making a film where the leading man has walked out and there's no story to it, and he's trying to find investors to finish this film off. Sort of like Welles had to do, but the character himself is more Huston-like, because he's a bit more macho. He's got like guns and he's got like very temperamental. But Welles also said it was based on some other macho directors like John Ford and William Wellman. There's lots of, it's a director type, even though there's a lot of Welles in there as well. I think he hid behind a macho bit because he was known not to be macho, but he used a macho thing as a veneer, so he could sneak in other things that were personal, because you don't make a film with this and make it impersonal. There's something about you in there. So it is a personal film, but it's also unfinished. And watching the film, I saw it yesterday, and it's a very interesting film, but it wasn't finished by Welles, which is the thing. Is there's certain, when I was watching it, I really enjoyed it, but there was meandering parts of it when it was with John Huston, when he was being interviewed and there's all these other hangers on around him, that I think if Welles was alive and was finishing it, he'd have cut some of that out. I think he would have. It's very intriguing, the pacelessness of it all. It's very interesting because the idea is the plotlessness. You're seeing the characters interact. That's the atmosphere. That's what you try to get across. But I think Wells would have cut down slightly, just for general pace and for general the moviegoers. I think he would have cut down a bit more just for. I think it's like 10 minutes too long. It feels like 10 minutes. There's just little bits where you find yourself finding me a bit too much beyond the point of where it needed to go. Where I think a director with his footage would say, okay, we need to cut that out to save the rest of the film. In this version, I think the problem is because they're so respectful of Wells and his wishes, and it's based on notes he made. But the thing about editing is, you make all these notes, and then you make changes, and then you see the film itself, and you say, okay, that change worked, that change didn't work. And then you change it again. And I think it was based on all these notes, but I think if they'd done all this and put together like that, if Wells had seen it again, he'd probably have cut little bits and bobs out just to give it more flow. And that's the problem, because it's so respectful to Wells, his wishes, that they're not doing that. And I think a director would have cut a bit more out just for the sake of pace. But that's the biggest flaw in it, really. Every other thing you can see as a flaw feels intentional. Like, there is an element. I mean, the interesting thing is the film itself is lots of talk. But the film within the film that John Huston's character is making, is practically silent. No one speaks. It's all about visuals, it's all about how the shots are intercut. It's a different style of filmmaking. And to me, that's the best stuff in the film. The film that Huston characters are making is far more intriguing. It's plotless, it's very arty, but it's all about looks, it's all about it's like a dream logic to it. Nothing makes sense entirely, but it makes some sort of sense. It's like, it's really beautiful. I'd love to watch more of that, because it's just fascinating to see, because it shows Wells at his best, which is, he was a very visual director. He was very good at finding new ways to use the camera, to use lenses, using people in frames, to create a mood and create a sensation. So his films, while they had plots, they were never about the plots. The plots were there, and they were the springboards. I mean, the best plot he had was in Citizen Kane, where you go back and forth. But even in that film, it's all about the mood, it's all about characters, and you're going back and forth a lot, and you remember the atmosphere more than you remember the plot of that film, even that one. And Distant Absence, all atmosphere. There's a story, but the atmosphere and the characters are what's really going for it. And this film uses Wells, I mean, Macbeth as well. Macbeth uses a Macbeth story, but it's done in a very Wellesian, eccentric way. And it's not going for the beat by beat thing. Like, if you look at Throne of Blood is much more precise in its storytelling, and the Wells version of Macbeth is more eccentric, but it's got an atmosphere that no other film could really get. And this film is the silent version part of this film has that feeling of, yeah, he hadn't lost it, he still had the talent, he really was doing great stuff with this. But the other stuff is where we went into a few problems. I mean, the whole idea was really good. There's this idea of this director who's got all these hangers on, all these people telling he's brilliant. He's trying to finish a film. He's kind of manipulative. He manipulates everybody. He's got his group of close cronies who work for him and who will manipulate the system for him as well. So he's got his team around him. But and you get people criticising him for his use of women characters, how he dealt with actors, how he dealt with how he manipulated actors and screwed them over and just messed with them just to get his effects. And the idea that none of the actors who he discovered and made stars would have anything to do with him because he was such a bastard to them. All that stuff's great. Houston's great. Houston's always a great performer. Peter Bogdanovich is also in the film. He's less successful. I mean, he's playing a guy who... He's almost playing himself. He's playing a guy who is the new blood, the new Hollywood, who's coming in, who's had some hits. He's got lots of money, but he's in awe of the older generation. And he's a bit of a toady, very sycophantic. And you see a couple of directors who are sycophantic in other ways. Like there's this a macho director who follows the Houston's character's style but in a macho way, which I'm not sure they're trying to say that's John Milius or not. I mean, it feels kind of Milius-like, but not without the fun of Milius. It's just this more mean thing. So I think it might be one of the like 60s directors who are still in the studio, who were the younger generation, who never really developed much, the ones who became like TV directors. It could have been that, but it feels Milius-like, but not Milius in character. And it's an interesting idea, but I don't think Wells could write those characters very well. I mean, he relied on them to improvise a lot, and Bogdanovich wasn't a very good actor at that point, and he's very studied. He's trying to be Wells, and he's trying to be Wellesian and very wise and stuff, and it doesn't come off at all. He just loses these points, and which is part of the point, but it's a more brutal bit of editing would have cut some of his stuff back to get to the point quicker. And he's the one character you meander on a lot, and you wish you'd less of him, because it seems like he's kind of, he would be better as a shadowy figure that comes in and out, and he's in it too much, and you see too much of him and you wish you'd less of him. And some of the other characters feel like it's Wells talking to himself in these sequences, because Wells usually needs a good writer to get other characters, to make other characters so it felt like characters talking to each other. Wells's big weakness as a creator was he was not the best writer. He was a much better director than he was a writer. And this comes across in this film because the writing, a lot of the characters feel very similar, but then he has actors who can breathe life into them, so they come across as very different because of the actors, but certain characters, they feel that Wells talking to himself, and that's a weakness in the film. Again, editing could have cut that down a bit so it would feel like an echo of him rather than these characters who are talking too much and feel too much like Wells. So that's kind of one of the area where I think the editing could have helped if they cut it down a bit more. But whenever anyone would shut up, whenever there was just either silence or the dialogue was background and you weren't really paying attention to everything, it really worked, because you really got an atmosphere of this party that was kind of nasty and people were sycophants and they were parasites, and the whole idea that, you know, this was like hell on earth, this part was hell on earth, and at the end of the night the director's dead, John Hughes' character is dead partly by suicide. They keep it ambiguous, but it's pretty clear that it's probably a suicide. And it's, again, it's a wonderful film, but it's a problematic film like lots of Wells. But I've only seen it once, so this is my first impressions. I'm not going to get further into this because I'm still processing it, but it's definitely worth watching. It's really good. It's got its problems, but the bits that work are spectacular. So that's what you go in for. It's like, it's not a perfect final film, but it's a beautiful final film, and it's good that it's finally out. And I still prefer F for Fake, which was before this was his previous final film. I like F for Fake more, it's more playful. This one is a bit more self-involved. There's a self-pity about Wells that's there, that is the worst part of him as a personality, the worst part of him as a director. It's within this film as well, but you have to put up with that. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'll be back soon with my next video, which will be about my favourite directors.